Hi, thanks for joining me for this episode of Dyslexia Solutions. I have a very special episode today, and I'm going to be honoring one of our former generals, General Patton, who was a dyslexic person. Um, my husband and I went away this weekend to Southern Cal Desert, and we went to the museum. And now, how many of you have ever seen the General Patton Museum? Well, I'm going to record this episode in three parts. The first part, I'm going to share a little bit about what I read at the museum about George Patton. And then I'm going to talk about a little bit more about the museum itself. And thirdly, I want to talk about the Chiriaco Summit Restaurant, who hosts people who have RVs for free for 7 days and invite you to visit the museum. So, as a child, General Patton had difficulty learning to read and write, but eventually he overcame this and was known in his adult life to be an avid reader. He was tutored from home until the age of 11 when he was enrolled in Stephen Clark's School for Boys, a private school in Pasadena, for 6 years. Patton was described as an intelligent boy and was widely read on classical military history, particularly the exploits of Hannibal, Scipio Africanus, Julius Caesar, Joan of Arc, and Napoleon Bonaparte. Hold on. As well as those of a family friend, John Singleton Mosby, who frequently stopped by Patton's family home when George S. Patton was a child. He was also a devoted horseback rider. Patton never seriously considered a career other than military. At the age of 17, he sought an appointment to the United States Military Academy. Patton applied to several universities with Reserve Officers Training Corps programs. Patton was accepted to Princeton College, but eventually decided on VMI, which his father and grandfather had attended. He attended the school from 1903 to 1904, and though he struggled with reading and writing, performed exceptionally in uniform and appearance inspections, as well as military drill. While Patton was at VMI, California's senator nominated him for West Point. From 1904 to 1909, Patton continued to struggle with his academics and nearly failed. He never gave up, and he focused on improving his study habits in the end. In the end, he finished 46 out of 103 cadets that graduated. As an athlete, Patton excelled at West Point. His last year, Patton set the record for the 220-yard hurdle. He won the 120-yard hurdle, and he won runner-up in the 220-yard dash, an accomplishment that earned him a spot with the yearbook as and with the coveted letter A. Patton was also an expert shot with the rifle and proved himself to have excellent swordsmanship, a skill he later used during the 1912 Olympics. After graduating, Patton reflected upon a message he had previously written to himself that read, "George Patton, you have seen what the enthusiasm of men can mean. You have done your you have done your darndest and failed now. You must do your darndest to win. Remember, it is what you live for. You have got to do something. Never stop until you have gained the top or a grave." So here's a picture of Patton. And I printed this out from the actual museum, which I'm going to give some kudos to right now. You know, we live in Southern California, and I never really thought about General Patton's museum because we have the Ronald Reagan Museum close by, and that is very interesting. And we have the Nixon Museum, you know, the presidential museums, right? But now this is part two. Let me read to you about the museum. It's very interesting how God ordered the steps of the people who put this together. And it shows that God does not let your legacy go unforgotten. Patton has a generation of grandfathers who served in the military as leaders, even to the First Continental Congress. So that's pretty amazing to me. On May 8th in 1985, VE Day, a pyramid-shaped stone monument was dedicated to the Desert Training Center and General B.M. Young, erected by the Bureau of Land Management, we call them BLM, at the site of the entrance to Camp Young to honor the memory of General George S. Patton Jr. and more than 1 million men who trained in the Desert Training Center in California, Arizona maneuver area during the World War II era, or during World War II. The public attendance and response was enthusiastic and patriotic. There were many people who wanted more information and also a place to permanently house the DCT artifacts, standing for Desert Training Center artifacts, which are the tanks, the Army tanks. They're amazing. And the numerous memories of our brave veterans. It was due to this that the museum honors General George Patton Jr. and the men of the DTC training was conceived. Two women, Margaret Chiriaco Roosh, a business owner, and Leslie Crone of the BLM, listened to various veterans groups and local historians, and they put their heads together to form a nonprofit corporation and a board of directors in late 1985. Then began the hard work of fundraising and soliciting gifts and donations to the museum. Joseph and Ruth Chiriaco gifted 7 acres, and I'll tell you more about them in part 3. They gifted 7 acres of the museum that it stands on today, to the museum as it stands on today. The custom engraved memorial bricks were offered for sale at the time, providing startup dollars to build the museum. There was a small trailer at the beginning that housed some artifacts that was used as an office. State Senator Robert Presley helped to procure the unused DMV portable office building in the Coachella Valley, which was moved to the museum site today. Krieger and Stewart engineers, BLM and Riverside County have technical assistance and funding, plus hundreds of others with dollars and in-kind service and donation, stepped forward to build the museum. Admiral Montoya and the Seabees installed the rock wall and, rock wall, whitewater rock, and donated the rocks. The cement was still drying when the ribbon was cut for the grand opening on November 11th of 1988. And this is very timely for Veterans Day coming up very soon. It was General Patton's, or would have been his 100th birthday. He died when he was 60. So in a fatal car crash, which has a whole other story to it. But it was going to be his 100th birthday, and the museum had its first Veterans Day celebration. And it was attended by more than 5,000 guests, many of whom had trained at the Desert Training Center and or served under General Patton during his World War II campaigns. And today the museum has expanded birthday, and the museum had its first Veterans Day celebration, attended by more than 5,000 guests, many of whom had trained at the Desert Training Center, attended by more than, and who served under General Patton during the World War campaign. I took pictures of the screen at the museum, so it's a little bit challenging to read. And today the museum has expanded, tripling its original size, and the conceptual idea from Robert Riccardiardi, architect, and the new Mansur Tank Pavilion, the Chandi West Wing, and the MWD lobby, the East Wing, the Barker FDN educational exhibits, and the Ed Hasley Vehicle Park. So I love this next concluding sentence. The museum continues to grow, introducing new features, and continues the program of educating our students in school districts throughout the desert and throughout Southern California. The General Patton Museum, in association with the Bureau of Land Management, continues to preserve the peace through lessons of the past. And there's a lot at the museum about the Holocaust and how Patton was used during World War II to save lives of the Jewish people and other people who were Holocaust victims. So I'm going to read some of Patton's quotes at the end. If you're interested in that, please listen to the end. But I'm going to read about this restaurant because we were pleasantly surprised. We took a trip on our RV through Joshua Tree, and we didn't know where we were going to end up, but we ended up at we were looking for a place for our RV, and we found this. The Joshua Tree recommended we go here, and it was amazing because it was a free stay overnight, but you just make a donation to the museum. So the Chiriaco family have this restaurant, and they're the sponsors of the museum. So the Chiriaco Summit, as it is known, is definitely established as a desert landmark. Joe Chiriaco, the founder, came west in 1927 to see Alabama play Stanford in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, but he never returned to his home state in Alabama. Instead, he found employment with the Los Angeles Bureau of Water and Power as a surveyor. He made his first trek into the Mojave Desert when his work brought him into the desert area, which used to be known as Shaver Summit. After several years, he gave up his job with the Bureau of Water and Power and settled down at the Shaver Summit site, which he later purchased from J.E. Cram of Mentone, California. In the early 1990s, there was a great gravel road out of Box Canyon that passed by Shaver Summit, running east towards Blythe. With rumors of a new paved road between Indio and Phoenix, Joe began constructing a building. And on August 15th in 1933, Joe Chiriaco opened his gas station and a general store. That day, he opened the $1. He opened the store with $1 in his wallet or his box till, and it remains at the summit. The new two-lane US 60 also opened that same day through Shaver Summit. With the new opening of US 60, the gas station and general store thrived, as did Joe Chiriaco. About the same time as Joe began his business, the Metropolitan Water District began construction of the aqueduct project that would carry water from the Colorado River to the population basins of the greater Los Angeles area. After the completion of the aqueduct, the desert returned to business as usual. Early in Joe's surveying days, he met a beautiful blonde Norwegian nurse from Minnesota named Ruth Bergseed, who worked at Coachella Valley Hospital in Indio. On June 25th, 1934, the couple married. They raised 4 children: Pauline Leadham of Visalia, Norma Elliott of Phoenix, and Robert Chiriaco and Margit Chiriaco Rush of Chiriaco Summit. They both admit that those first years at the summit were strictly pioneer days: gas lights, generators for power, a very limited supply of water, and long 18-hour days, all without the modern convenience of air conditioning. In the spring of 1942, During World War II, General George S. Patton established in the desert training. He established in the Desert Training Center with its headquarters at Camp Young, adjacent to this area, Schaefer Summit. This was the only place of its kind on limits to the soldiers for many miles. As Paul Wilhelm, a former soldier in the area at the time, said, everything about Schaefer's Summit of the road dispensary drew us like bees to blossoms. In 1945, Joe and Ruth Chiriaco established a rugged memorial to General Patton at the Chiriaco Summit. Today, thanks to Marguerite Chiriaco Ruch and Leslie Cohn of the Bureau of Land Management, there is a marvelous museum that honors the great American hero, George S. Patton, and also the Desert Training Center. In 1958, a rural branch of the U.S. Post Office was opened, and the name of the area was changed to Schaefer Summit, from Schaefer Summit to the Chiriaco Summit. Joe and Ruth passed away within months of each other in 1996. They embodied the true spirit of the desert and are dearly missed. On June 21st, 2000, an important milestone was reached. Commercial power arrived at the Chiriaco Summit, supplied by the Imperial Irrigation District, and the generators were powered down for the last time, marking the new beginning of a new era, the new construction of the new Chevron station, and the food mart was completed in 2004. So on March 3rd, 2015, Joe and Ruth were honored with a star on the Palm Springs Walk of the Stars, located in front of the See's Candy, which was their favorite. The Chiriaco Summit continues today as a family-owned corporation. Joseph L. Chiriaco, Inc. is owned by Joe and Ruth's children, Pauline, Norma, Robert, and Margit, who currently serve as CEO. Margit is a CEO, and the grandchildren. The company includes this historic restaurant that features home-style cooking, a gas station called a Chevron gas station, and a food mart, a Foster's Freeze, a Southwest Travel Information Center, a post office, beautiful antique shop with vintage items and collectibles, a next-door vehicle restoration, and a mobile home park. Just a short walk away is the General Patton Museum. So the Chiriaco Summit, Built by Love to Last in the Desert, is a book by Dr. Mary Gordon, that tells the story of Joe and Ruth Chiriaco, and it's published and it's available in their store and coffee shop. So, we love Yosemite National Park here in California. We have yet to go to Yellowstone, but we love Grand Canyon. I really want to encourage people to come to the desert area in Southern California and visit this landmark or visit this museum. The General Patton Museum, you could get information at 760-227-3483. And I actually got this from their placemat at the restaurant. They have dry camping, which is what my husband and I did, which means you don't have any hookups, but you have a water reserve and you have a generator. So it's amazing, and it was very comfortable. And now, to end this video, remember, George Patton was dyslexic, and he was brilliant. He had creativity, and he had a success-driven mindset. So some of the final quotes I just want to share as I conclude this video. I am a soldier. I fight where I am told, and I win where I fight. Accept the challenges so you can feel the exhilaration of victory. Don't tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do and let them surprise you with their results. We herd sheep, we drive cattle, we lead people. Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way. A leader is a man who can adapt to the principles of circumstances. Human beings are made up of flesh and blood, and miracle fiber is courage. It's kind of blurry to read some of this. So wars may be fought with weapons, but they are won by men. If we take, that's kind of hard to read. If everyone is thinking alike, then someone isn't thinking. So that's something that I shared with a dyslexia as a trait of genius. Dyslexic people weren't meant to fit in, they're meant to stand out. So I want to end by also sharing that I'm having a promotion. If you want help learning how to work with dyslexic children, please take advantage of my offer this month. For $39.99, you can purchase my training videos, step-by-step reading training videos, 8 training videos, and my digital files. And you'll receive support with a Facebook group and also a monthly Zoom. So this is requested that you do a subscription so that you can continue to receive the support throughout the year, at least throughout the school year. But I want you to expand your tutoring business. Let's find those dyslexic geniuses and bring out their talents. And I also want to pray peace over Israel. And I just thank you for tuning into this YouTube. It's very different, I know, but I just want to share some great discoveries that I have learning that General George Patton was dyslexic, and you have a dyslexic child that's brilliant. Let's unlock his genius. Bye-bye now.